Staying with Daybreak, the State of the Nation conversation continues. My guests are with me. Honorable Eddie Oketch, Senator for Migori, is joining us from Kisumu studios. Thank you for making time. Honorable Samson Cherargei, the Senator for Nandi, will be joining us from Busia. Still trying to get a hold of him. We'll bring him into this discussion in a short while. Here in studio is Eric Okeyo, governance and security expert, and Willis Otieno, deputy party leader, Safina. And Willis, you mentioned earlier on that there's going to be regional kingpins and the people of Kenya will decide whether this country changes direction in 2027 or not. But we see it on the front page of the Standard here saying that why Kalonzo is the most sought after politician. So many people argue that the more things change, the more they remain the same. Will this be the pivotal moment where a new generational change of leadership will emerge, or will it be more of the same thing? Considering that the IEBC is targeting 6.3 million, 70% of those should be young people, but in the last couple of weeks, they've only managed up to 7,000. There's no enthusiasm to register as voters. Will things change or will they remain the same? Because the Standard says Kalonzo is the most sought after politician as we speak.
Let me say this. This is the legacy political talk of regional kingpins are going to speak for the Kenyan people. As the same regional kingpin politics that brought, for example, broad-based, has it addressed the problem, fundamental issues of the people of Kenya? Has it brought overwhelming support and love for the Kenyan people? It has not. And that is where Eddie fails. When he speaks, he can't dare walk into Kisumu streets and tell them that life is good. So this legacy political talk of that a regional kingpin is now incorporated, he will determine how we are going to vote. Kenyans are saying they are going to vote based on their issues. And the number one issue is the economy. And then there's this fallacy that keeps being played that not many Kenyan young people are coming out to register. Let me tell you, what we are going through is we have just relaunched continuous voter registration. It is not the enhanced voter registration. Continuous simply means that for almost a year plus, we've not been having registration at the various registration centers. If you look at the statistics of the last times when we had the continuous voter registration, which is supposed to be an everyday event, IEBC was recording even 3 people in a week, in a county, 3 people. Now, if you're telling me they're recording 7,000 in a week, then it means to me, as compared to the previous statistics, more and more Kenyans are willing. What we need to be asking of IEBC at this particular point, having put a pause for the longest time on voter registration and now resumed it, they should have not started with continuous voter registration. They should have immediately launched an enhanced voter registration drive that goes deep into the villages. Because the continuous voter registration is done at the constituency manager's office, which in some locations, the distances involved, you are asking someone to move or even to travel more than even 40 kilometers to access that constituency voter registration center. But in enhanced voter registration, IEBC will be at a local shop, will be at a local church, will come to even a funeral, a wedding, to engage with the people at the grassroots level to register them. Then you will be able to say, these numbers are not adding up or they're adding up. And I want to just say one thing to Eddie. When I listened to my brother, I was actually at a loss. Am I listening to a government representative or am I listening to somebody in the opposition? Because he's now blaming the entire healthcare problems we have on private sector. The Kenya Health Survey is telling us that 70% of Kenyans access health services in public facilities. So is it that the government is not stealing from this Kenya in terms of dialysis, cost of dialysis? Then, fundamentally, who is in charge of setting up the national health policy? It's the same, the administration broad-based. It's the government. So you can't be here saying that our health sector is working, the problem is the private sector, who are charging exorbitant costs, profiteers, and yet the same government went and paid a facility 160 million that didn't exist. He goes to pay in Homa Bay a facility that was closed. It is paid almost 20 million, and yet Homa Bay County Referral Hospital is getting less. They go and pay some mad houses in Northeastern 5 million, 10 million Kenya shillings, more than what the local public facility is receiving. And then now you're saying the problem is the private sector. It is the same administration that is using individuals in the private space to undermine the access of health services in this country. But back to the question of Kalonzo. Even if Kalonzo were to join any political formation without an agenda, that is the people's agenda, it will amount to naught. He must first define that I am joining this formation or I'm campaigning myself for this formation based on these issues of the economy. This is my promise on the economy. For example, let me just say this. In Safina Party, we are very clear. We've said, as we are campaigning and our platform is the feast agenda. 5 key points. Number 1, we are not paying illegal debts. You've just seen here in Nation page 9. It is telling us, the Treasury, Kenya is borrowing 32 million Kenya shillings an hour. Since I walked into this studio, until now, 32 million Kenya shillings have been borrowed by the Kenyan government. In a month, it's 23 billion. And you cannot see any development project worth 23 billion per month. Because according to our laws, you only borrow for development. Number 2, when we don't pay these illegal debts that they're taking, it simply means this. It means the money that you are paying as debt service, the debt finance, which this financial year alone is 2.3 trillion, will use that money that is going into these profiteers' pockets, apply to the health sector. People should not make any single contribution towards their services. Chief share, the entire universal healthcare service in Kenya is costed at 158 billion Kenya shillings. Put 200 billion into that health sector so that any Kenyan will access health services for free without paying an additional cost. Number 4, we say education alone, from primary to TVET, costed at around 300 billion Kenya shillings. Make it payable from this money you've saved from Odia's debt. Then the people are able to access services without paying an additional contribution. And finally, tied to what Eddie said, that is saying we've now opened up lending facilities to private sector. As Safina, for example, we've said, stop borrowing from the domestic market. Let government stop borrowing in the domestic market. What that does is this. The banks will be forced to go and beg Kenyans to accept loans. Interest rates will fall to up to 3%. You take a loan of 1 million, you'll pay only 30,000 Kenya shillings as interest in a year. Then, with your ideas, and Kenyans have so many ideas, with your ideas, you are able to access capital. Today, the main challenge Kenyans face is access to capital. The non-performing loans alone in this country today, as I've told you, is 770 billion. That is people who took loans, interest rates are so high, and the auctioneers' pages are increasing every day in the newspapers. Stop borrowing, get out of that domestic market, let the Kenyan people, who are the ones who deposit money in the market, let them be the ones to go into the banks, borrow that money, and commercialize the ideas. You meet them at the point of when they participate in the economy, you are able to collect consumption tax. And finally, on our feast agenda, because we are not going to be paying illegal debts, the participation is that we are not going to now demand of you more taxes to pay for the illegal debts. People must get a reprieve, and the reprieve comes in this mode. 16% VAT has to go. And then you introduce a 5% sales tax. So you reduce the cost of living to everybody by 11%. They are only now going to contribute 5% sales tax, and they have more disposable income in their pockets, and they're able to buy more. They're able to spend more in the economy. If I was buying 1 loaf of bread every day for my family, because I have a disposable income, I can now buy 2 loaves every morning. The baker must bake more bread. The distributor must employ more hands to distribute that particular bread. And the government now will collect more because people now have disposable income. They are able to participate in the economy. That is the kind of a conversation I'll wish that will be saying, this is the agenda, for example, that Kalonzo has. This is the agenda that William Ruto has. This is the agenda that Gachagua has. This is the agenda that Safina has. And then Kenyans vote based on the ideas and the agenda that they're saying, this is believable, this we can work with.
Okay, let me bring in now Cherargei before I bring in on this. Cherargei, good morning. It's good to see you. Before you joined in, we were talking about what this government will be judged based on in 2027. What will their track record be in your assessment? Cherargei, what will this government be?
Yes, Trevor.
Good morning, it's good to see you.
I don't know what is wrong with your network.
No, it's now been fixed, so we can hear you very loud and clear. Before you joined into the conversation, we were talking about what will this government be judged based on in 2027?
I cannot get you, Trevor.
Okay, let's fix that. Let's fix that.
You know I'm near Uganda.
Let's fix that sound before we get into Cherargei's conversation shortly. He's joining us from Busia. There seems to be a bit of a technical challenge there. We'll come to that shortly. But okay, let me bring you back in. Will Kenyans be focusing on the issues like what Willis is raising, or will it be more of the same thing? Because you can see even at the top page why Kalonzo is the most sought after politician. He's been there before. Will anything change, or will it be more of the same in 2027?
Thank you, Trevor. But Trevor, also allow me just a second to deal with the SHA issue.
Yeah.
Senator Eddy has tried to package it with very good adjectives on how it is working. Senator Eddy is more advantaged. Kenyans want to hear him respond to two issues. 136 billion shillings that in the books has been allocated to SHA to take care of the patients. 53 billion for basic health care access and 83 billion shillings for critical and chronic illnesses. This is, I want Senator Okechi's advantage. He says he's in the Senate Accounts Committee. He should be able to say, where is this money actually? In the books, it is in SHA. Where is it? Because there's something about it. They know where it is. Now, when we get back to Kalonzo Musyoka has been called all names. Watermelon, Atoti this way, Atoti the other way, etc. But Kalonzo is now proving, that, look, I can also take a stand. You saw the statistics of the opinion polls the other day. Over 60% of Kenyans are unhappy with the broad-based government. So all Kalonzo has done is to create himself in a space other than the space of the broad-based government. And everybody is now saying, wait a minute, can we get this Kalonzo on our side? When we get to 2027, Kalonzo now becomes one of the kids to bring on the table. And you know, elsewhere, we had started talking about the generational aspect. You would have expected that if it was going to be generational, then William Ruto would easily be removed by a younger person. But when you look at how it is coming out, the most probable situation would be that the Ruto replacement would either be in his age set or older than him, because the country then will be saying, we tried this young one, and all he is now reminding Kenyans about is that he is the only Kenyan president with a PhD. This PhD is not working wonders. The statistics that Senator Eddy is speaking about are statistics which help to arrive at a conclusion without going to the village. I just whispered to my brother here, Willis. I've had a stint in public sector, so I know some of the things I'm talking about. To get one principal secretary to his village out of his office with his transport and security and support staff would almost be 200,000-300,000 shillings a day. All they are going with is 50,000 shillings to look for young people to be motivated to go to tertiary institutions or to start border outfits in the village. We want a government that will be able to assess need. How many universities do we have today? These universities graduate students every year. The job creation they talked about, they should tell us this is the number of graduated students per year. This is how they are enlisted into the society. TVETs aren't bad, but we can't take everyone to TVET. You cannot be saying you're creating jobs, but at the same time, if you go to Public Service Commission, people who are in their late 60s and 70s are serving in government on extensions. The same government openly says what? Says that all we want is a situation where anyone who attains the age of 60 goes home. Do we have people who are in their 70s serving in government? Yes. What skill do they have that young people have not come with from the universities? Zero. These are the issues we talk about. You say that education is the equalizer, but you parade an illiterate aide of a president running across the country amok, parading elected political leaders in near obscene attire or standing. And you want to tell me that the country is okay? If all that is happening, the PSs are all in their villages with the 50,000 shillings. The empowerment programs are all over. Ni fire, si fire. Ni moto, si moto. Mimi ni noma, si noma. You see, all that describes a situation of a reactive government, a government that knows a problem exists, but they are firefighting. They are shooting from all corners without a target.
Okay, let me bring in Eddie Oketch and get a response from Eddie. Eddie, will anything change in 2027? You said that the people will decide, but we still see headlines where Kalonzo is the most sought-after politician.
I don't even want to discuss Kalonzo, because I think that there is more exciting things to discuss, especially because, Trevor, I have been following online as well as in person with a number of younger people, of course Gen Z and even millennials, in terms of what they see as important for them. And I think that they have indicated, even if you remember when the protest was starting last year of the Gen Z, some of them were really, for instance, admirers of Raila Amolo Odinga, in spite of his age. So the Gen Zs and the younger generation are not just not tribal, or sometimes leaderless and partyless. They are also not ageist. Basically, they don't judge people with regards to these notions that we put on age and other things. If there's a bad leader, they will deal with the bad leader. If you are Eddie Oketch and you're young and you're not performing, they will deal with you. The same way as if you are maybe a James Orengo or a Irungu Kangata that is performing and you are older, they will still give you a chance. So I don't think that younger people in this country are talking about the age. They're talking about good governance, they're talking about performance, they're talking about results that they can be able to see in governance. And I think this is the key thing that we must go with in the next election. That's why sometimes I ignore the political narratives that are sweet conversations like what Okey is trying to bring, and I think it's just bastardizing everything so that you can be able to have some small political correctness here and there in terms of headlines that you would want to make. The point is young people will look for good governance in older or younger people. If you are Eddie Oketch, if you are Babu Owino, if you are Kibagendi, if you are Methu, and you don't perform and you are young, they will deal with you. If you are also young and you're performing, if you're Eddie Oketch, you're performing and you're doing well, or somebody like Methu or anybody is doing well, they will still give you a chance. The same way they will still punish young, older people. And this is a Kenyan phenomenon for everyone. But what I wanted to say, Trevor, is that we have got 2 years to go to 2027. And I still believe that if we do not just focus on bastardized conversations, on stigmatized conversations, on some politicians, including the person of Raila Amolo Odinga and the person of the president, that you have seen a number of times that because they made a very serious decision at a time that the country was going to lose the country. If you remember the last PG that Raila Amolo Odinga had with both sides of the divide, he said, we would rather have a country that is not perfect, right, and then try to make it perfect than not have one at all, where the country was collapsing. So if you're going to bastardize these individuals for having made a decision that has stabilized the country, at least give them credit where some things are working. Willis, I want to give you an example. In the last regime, my brother, I've had an advantage maybe over you right now in the sense that I'm chairing Transport, Roads, and Housing Committee, and therefore I've got factual understanding on what the economy has been, at least for the last 10 years. In the last regime alone, Willis, the last regime spent budgeting structure and money in putting about 1,000 kilometers of road, especially those that are going to the Kera level, making roads that will be made motorable and then adjusted to bitumen standards, were in one region. And you have heard myself and the people who believe in this Bollywood government saying that there is need to equalize Kenya. There is need to make Kenya equal. Those roads alone took up to 175 billion Kenya shillings that were in pending bills, so that any money that you're trying to raise as a government, this is a reality, as a government, any money you're trying to raise would be going up to 175 billion paying for those toll projects in those roads. And because government is a going concern, whatever you find a government that was previous doing, you must continue with as a government now, then it means that those projects must be continued with. How are you going to fund them? Those pending bills that are huge, and you are a legal practitioner, you know that even you in your legal profession, there is a lot of pending bills from the previous government to you personally, Willis, and to your profession personally. How are you going to raise money to pay for all these pending bills and still pay for free things that Willis wants? Willis wants free education, Willis wants free Medicare, Willis wants free housing. All this must be put in a way that is practical. And that's why I was telling you that the one single practicality that we need as a country is that we must have a formula to make equality a formula. For instance, Willis, I can tell you for a fact that just this week, 478 roads of Kera have been advertised that go to almost similar numbers in terms of kilometers that have been tendered right now. Go and look at them. It's not me saying, go and just look on the website and look at how well distributed they are. Willis, you are from Alego. At least you have claimed this before when we were with you, and you have also claimed Jalenda. Go and check if there are no roads that are going to those places in this project. Go and check if for the first time, somewhere like Migori, where I come from, people are getting roads being tendered for. To bitumen standards. Go and check, even people who are coming from Marsabit and Mandera are getting those roads being done and being tendered. What I'm telling you, Willis, as I finish, is that economy does not work in silos. You can't say that jobs that are going to be created are only for plumbers and not for engineers. When you have created an opportunity for the road networks in this country to be built, there will be a legal service there, there will be a plumber there, there will be an engineer there. There will be all these professions. A plumber does not work in the air. They work on the road the same way a lawyer does not work in the air. Economy is integrated. What I'm urging you as young people, as myself, Willis, is that any gains that you have made, at least in the last 1 year, let us build on them and make sure that we maximize return on investment of the votes that you made or you did not make in 2022 by making sure that we put pressure on the bottom of this government to at least get us services for what we are paying for as taxes now, and 2027, when we get there, we allow ourselves to be able to make choices as younger people, as older people in this country, that will then give us our own desired leaders that are coming. Lastly, Trevor, we are in Busia as senators. When you're in Busia, there is a second layer of government called county government. Yeah. County governments are actually constitutionally given a lot of responsibility with regards to some of these basic needs things. Provision of water, provision of housing, provision of health care. So what I'm seeing constantly in the grassroots, because people are talking about villages, I work in village setting all the time. I'm in the village right now. Okeo is in Nairobi. But what I'm telling you, Trevor, is that the discontentment of the Kenyan public is not only focused on the national government. They are also having serious issues with county governments that are not performing and not making the devolved resources that we are having to them be able to circulate in the economy. Okay. The money is not circulating in some of these areas, so that even small contractors in the villages are either not getting paid for the service that they do or are not getting job opportunities that would be tender formulas in counties. And therefore, county governments are equally failing and putting on this pressure. Okay. So let's look at this issue in totality and correct the rot both in national and county government.
We are coming to talk about the Senate Mashinani in just a short while. I see Dr. Buyema actually sent me a question here in regards to the Senate Mashinani sessions that you're holding right now. But let me bring in Cherargei on this. If you can, Cherargei, if your sound is clear, and I hope you can hear me from Busia on the Senate Mashinani still quest out there. And I hope you've been following the conversation. We're talking about whether this is the 2027 political arithmetic is going to change, or will it be more of the same, and what will this regime be really judged on?
Thank you, Trevor. I'm not getting you very clear, but I think as of now, I've been following the conversation on the issue of economy, the issue of 2027 dynamics, the issue of Senate machinery. But let me start with what we are doing in Busia. One, Trevor, is that this is one of the 4th Senate machinery since I joined Senate. I think during my era we started what we call Senate machinery, and this is the time we bring Senate to the ground where the village is, because our agenda is to protect evolution. And when we are in Senate machinery, we do plenary, we do committee sittings, and then we do county visit. One of the highlights yesterday in the morning at 7 a.m., we did visit border post of Busia. One they call one-stop border post, and we were able to experience the challenges, the gridlock, and we were shocked that a number of where the clearance is only 40 trucks, and daily there is an outbound of 500 trucks going to Uganda and 700 coming into the country. There are so many challenges ranging from hygiene to the clearance process. And it was very unfortunate. It was eye-opening because people know that Busia is a county, but it borders Uganda. So there are many challenges that we saw yesterday, and we did a motion, and we hope Kenya, which should be doing the expansion of road infrastructure and resting places, they should work on it. We were even shocked that there is only one toilet where people are paying to use it, which is very unfortunate. And yet to know in Malaba, they are clearing more trucks than here in Busia border post, which is clearing more people. And what shocks is they are saying one border post, but there are 22 agencies that you have to clear. That shows that you have in a work that you should do clearance of 4 hours, you are using it for 4 days, which is very unfortunate. And we have had sitting as Public Accounts Committee. Today we are visiting hospitals, Agriculture Committee, Cohesion, and many others. So this is the time that we are experiencing as a Senate. People should interact and see how Senate works, because sometimes, Trevor, there is challenge of people don't understand what we do. You can see Willis and is it okay or struggling to explain the role of Parliament. Yet they know some roles are distinct, and there is the principle of separation of powers. On economy and the future of this country going into 2027, I have no doubt. You know, those are elitist arguments that are being done with studio, and it looks like Willis and Okeo are disjointed with what is happening in Mashinani. As a representative of farmers, we have seen the food security has stabilized, and therefore it means the disposable income of many of the families will be fairer because there is access to food. Now this is the year we are going to harvest around 76 million bags courtesy of the fertilizer subsidy program. Even here in Busia, you can feel there is a lot of food, which one of the biggest spending in any household is on the issue of food. But now at least the food security, where we did subsidize production over consumption, Trevor, it is as significant. So when I hear my colleagues arguing, those are comments that an argument that you make in social chains. The reality on the ground is totally different, and I can assure you from where I sit after interacting with the people of Busia that we have, you can feel people are appreciating that the economy has improved. There are still challenges here and there. What they are not telling you, for example, in SHARE, is that it's only a few of us who are employed who could access the services in SHARE, in NHIF. But now SHARE has gathered for everybody, despite challenges here and there.
Okay. Let me get a reaction from Willis.
Let me say, listen to this legacy politicians. You really wonder if we live in the same world. They have their own make-believe world. I'm actually in shock, but as so many Kenyans are. Because even Cherargei, when he's sitting here listening to him talk that they've gone to Busia, and he's talking about they went to inspect the border post. What has that got to do with the role of the Senate? Let's be honest. That border post, the manner in which the trade is conducted, is not the function of the Senate. The senator himself does not know
his work
as a senator. He does not even know what he's doing in Busia. It is not his duty to go and inspect the Busia border post. His role is to protect county administration. That is what he should be focusing on. He doesn't know why he's there, but I'll tell you why he's there. All those that you are seeing in Busia are there because they're earning per diem. They should be telling you how much each of them is being paid per day for being in Busia, and I can tell you a minimum, each of them is earning 30,000 Kenya shillings just on per diem alone. Then they are earning on sitting allowances, a minimum 15,000. A minimum each of them is taking home is 50,000 just to appear in Busia, to do nonsense that does not involve the role of a senator. Then number two, when Ed is talking that, oh, Willis, you are pending bills from national government. I don't. I've never done any brief for the national government of Kenya. I have no pending bills. And legacy politicians will want to put you into, gaslight you. That now the problem is regionalism. The problem is one region was benefiting and not others. Divisive, typical legacy politics. Divide Kenyans across tribal lines. Don't deal with the issues that are germane to the Kenyan people. And I say this, when you listen to him, you wonder, was this man in Kenya last regime or not? Because he was part of that coalition. William Ruto was deputy president. Uhuru Kenyatta was the president. Raila Odinga and ODM were in the handshake. They were part of it. And they were singing Hosanna to these people every year. All of a sudden now, the last regime is bad, this one is good, and the problem was regionalism. Let's be honest, I was hoping any of them could even attend to this question. I've said, as a Safina party, this is our feast agenda. This is our economic promise. And I'm not saying we are promising free things. We are simply saying, apply the taxpayers' money. It is still taxpayers' money. It's not government's money. It's the Kenyan people who have said, we've contributed this much as our taxes. Yeah. You are spending 2.23 trillion this year to pay for illegal debts. Don't use that money to pay for illegal debts. Use it to fund education. Use it to fund healthcare. It is not free. It is still the people's money.
Okay.
And that is where we draw a difference. And finally, what I want to say is this. You know, the unfortunate bit about this conversation is that we're talking about people's lives here. These legacy politicians, they turn like a pendulum and they swing. You cannot even tell what they believe in. You cannot even tell what they stand for. They stand for nothing. As they are doing this nonsense, they are wasting the lives and the opportunities for our young people. Young people are not getting jobs commensurate with their qualifications. The economy is collapsing. The two gentlemen you are seeing there on the screen are all telling us that the economy is working. If the economy is working, I will not be on this screen saying what it is.
Okay.
The Kenyan people will be giving that feedback themselves.
Okay. Gerard, I'll come to you for a right of response, and also Eddie, because you're all in the Senate machinani, so you'll tell us what it's all about. Wait. Gerard Gay, hold on 1 second. I'll come to you for a right of response.
By his comments as I am today.
Gerard Gay, hold on 1 second. I'll come to you.
I was on this.
Gerard Gay, hold on 1 second. I'll come to you for a right of response. Let's bring in Eric Okeyo first. Then I'll come to you, Gerard Gay, for a right of response. You still have time for this. Yes, Eric Okeyo.
Thank you very much, Trevor. I am happy to now learn that Senator Eddie chairs the committee that is also responsible for roads. I see how he's drumming the trumpet on the tender by Kenya Rural Roads Authority, a government parastatal charged and created by an act of parliament to simply do what he's saying it is doing. And I doubt whether they need commendation for that, because that is why the state entity was enacted to exist. To take a road to Migori should not be seen by Eddie as the benefit of the broad-based relationship with government. The people of Migori who elected Senator Eddie Oketch are entitled to roads, regardless of how they think. But let me remind Senator Eddie, last year, another entity in that ministry called Kura advertised for tenders for roads of up to 30 billion Kenya shillings. Along the way, as tenders were returned, the procuring entity terminated the procurement. Perhaps he can address us and say what happened to the budget. Because this is fact. This is not rumor. This is fact. Where did the money go to? And allow me just 2 more minutes, then I have one rider for Senator Gerard Gay. You see, I have had an issue with the housing levy, for example. And I don't know whether Senate or National Assembly have done a feedback survey even by civil servants, on simply the housing levy and SHA. Civil servants who work for government, who cannot speak, who can only show you their pay slip so that if you occasionally have some money, you can loan them. They are unhappy with this. Instead of building these houses and getting people to live on 17th, 18th floors as age catches up with them, why not just open up the country, open up infrastructure, roads, water, electricity, make money available, make business easy and cost of taxation lower. Kenyans will build the houses they dream. I think I want to challenge my friend Senator Eddy and Senator Cherargei that perhaps it's time to just do feedback from the public. Now, finally, you know, this Senator Cherargei, I've never experienced him. This is my first interaction with him. Oh, my God. You know, the role of Senate is to protect devolution. I wish he was saying that they were in Busia and they have had a session with the county assembly MCAs. They have gone to Mashinani, had a session with MCAs and gotten feedback. Last week, 2 days ago, they were with the governor of Busia. So some of the feedback that came from the books is what they should have been addressing. I even hear he's a lawyer, this Cherargei, and he can still say he was looking at the border post. These are, you know, proponents of unnecessary largesse in government. What, for example, is the cost of this Senate Mashinani to the taxpayer a day, vis-a-vis the benefit it has to Wanjiku? It's just enabling a senator who has never visited a border post because he grew up in the rural place in Nandi to now go in the name of he's a senator.
Okay. Let me bring in Cherargei on this for a right of response, then I'll come to Eddy. Because you're both in Mashinani. Cherargei, let's start with you first for a right of reply because you've been mentioned twice now. Unmute your microphone, Senator Cherargei. Senator Cherargei, your microphone is on mute. Kindly unmute. Okay, as we still figure that out.
Trevor.
Yeah. Yes.
Sorry, Trevor, I've taken long because of these challenges of time. But I want to say the following, that it is unfortunate, you know, when you have boardroom analysts who don't know what it's about. Because most of us as politicians and leaders, we normally tell Kwenda Mashinani, listen to what the people are saying. And I just mentioned Busia border post. One, is unfortunate that Willis, who is a learned senior, is misleading the public. He is aware of Article 93, where Parliament is both the National Assembly and the Senate. Number two, Busia is a county. It's part of 47 counties, despite that it borders another country. Number three, we are the representatives of the people. When we are in Busia, one of the issues that people raised on Monday, or even when you interact, is the persistent gridlock at Busia border post. As leaders, the only thing we could do is listen to our people. Number two, I have seen Okeyo saying that, and I want to tell him in future he should take Senator Eddy to Ramogi interview and then they can have the issues there. But the point I'm trying to make is that we have made, I have said, and it is good to listen, Trevor, that we did Public Accounts Committee meeting with the governor of Busia. Today in the morning, we are meeting the County Assembly of Busia. We are, in fact, in most of our motions, we are discussing on the issues of Busia and discussing what devolution is. In fact, the Senate should operate more from where people are than in Nairobi. And I think my two brothers are just misleading because even the allocation, the sittings that we do, what they are not telling you, I've heard Okeyo talking about the expenses that Senate Mashinani, is it fair to the taxpayers' money? But he's not telling you under the Constitution, Parliament can sit anywhere in this country because we are the representatives of the people. And that is why, Trevor, it is very critical that we are doing county visits. The committees have visited to assess. One of the roles is we are going to visit the hospital today. Most of our colleagues have visited some of the projects done by the county, and we have been very clear. Even we have discussed the revenue streams, the performance of the counties. So we are here in Busia to, in as much as to protect devolution, we are also leaders that represent the people or at the national level. On the issue of, I've seen my two brothers wobbling about the broad-based government. I want to tell them broad-based government is here to stay. We have a working partnership between us and between the UDA and ODM. And I can tell you from the look of things, because you have seen the united opposition is no longer united, is more disunited than was before. You can see Matiang'i is on his own, the former vice president. And I want to say, you have asked why Kalonzo is the highly sought after politician. I think because Kalonzo has an history of working with Raila Odinga, for example. He worked with Moi, and there is no problem. And I can tell you the president is willing to sit and engage with any leader who has an agenda of a better Kenya. And that is because all of us are Kenyans. We are not enemies. All of us belong to this country. And therefore, the conversation that Kalonzo Musyoka is the highly sought-after leader is not new in this country. We can still have a conversation.
Okay.
And that is why people who sit and it is very unfortunate, because I've had our brothers taking a jibe against the empowerment programs. It is because most of them, if you ask Willis and Okeo, they have never visited their village in Nyakach for the last 9 or 10 months. And that is why they don't know what broad-based is doing. And I agree with Eddie. This is the first time that the president has brought equitable development across the country, unlike before Trevor. And that is why Senator Eddie is talking about Migori getting roads. Okay. Now we are seeing a country that from northern part of Kenya to here in Busia, across Nandi, from Nairobi to everywhere, the skyline of cities are changing. And it is very unfortunate, like people like Willis castigating the issue of affordable housing. There are many Kenyans, and I thought he should apologize to plumbers of this country. He should apologize to the electricians of this country. He should apologize to masons, because to him, what is important are doctors more than masons. Yet he knows you cannot have a house without a mason. He should apologize, and it is in fact the gentleman who was his running mate, Jimmy Wanjigi, should drop him in the next cycle of 2027, because he has reduced him to an anti-analyst who sees things through an elitist views.
Okay.
I was with the president in Vihiga, inspecting Majengo affordable housing. And when we engaged, let me just finish, because I have not spoken in your show, Trevor, because of challenges that you have subjected me to, despite that I woke up in 4 a.m. to prepare for this show. We visited Majengo affordable housing. We visited affordable housing in Majengo. And those women who are working in that Majengo are very grateful to the president. I heard it in my ears. You go to Nairobi, anywhere, even on the issue of SHA that my brother Okeo is trying to castigate. We have agreed that universal health coverage under Article 43 should be right of every Kenyan, Trevor.
Okay.
So it is okay to criticize government, but it's okay to also criticize with facts.
Okay.
And I ask them to visit their villages and see what government is doing. In fact, Trevor, as we talk, the old Wazee Inua Jamii program has been paid for this month. Even finally on the issue of Nyota.
Yeah.
To him, 50,000 does not mean a lot to Willis, because he's a rich man, he's a man of fair. But 50,000, Trevor, can change the life of Mama Mboga, Boda, somewhere in where you come from. Where I come from, where Senator Eddie comes from, where Okeo. You know, they eat 50,000 in lunch in Nairobi, and that is why it doesn't mean a lot to them.
Okay, let me bring in Senator Eddie Oketch on this. Senator, you're currently in Senate Mashinani, and the panelists here in studio have somehow cast aspersions on it, saying what is the cost of these visits vis-a-vis the benefit to the people? Eddie?
Thank you, Trevor. I'll respond in two ways very quickly. Number one, of course, to Okeo, who started by not listening to me when I talked about why the tendering processes that you're seeing now have been revamped to the extent that you can be able to see places that did not have roads previously, or did not have, projects that are run by government previously, now being able to have. Okay, I would want you not to be emotional in conversations, and I would want you not to be just to listen to what somebody says. It's the first time I'm having a conversation with you. But I do know you personally, and I know that you have some personal challenges. I'm just wishing you the courage that those personal challenges, you should not bring them to Citizen Studios, because then it impairs your judgment in terms of listening. I did not talk about the issue of the role that KERA does and their JD and the job description. I said that if you look at the tender structure on government projects in this country, time immemorial, time without number, it has been that anytime you look at the tenders that have been put in any government department, you'll see them skewed towards some regions more than others. And this is not just to speak out of the blues. If you're aware, there was something called Section Paper number 10 of 1965 that decided that 13 counties, the North Frontier counties in this country, are not economically viable. Therefore, government will never put development in those places. It then escalated to a situation whereby if you voted in a certain manner, for instance, if you're coming from Kisumu or from Alego where Willis comes from, and you did not vote a certain regime in power, then they will couple it with things like Section Paper number 10 and make sure that when development is being given in your place, it will not come to your place. You can remember the former president, former deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua, even coupling this narrative with the issue of shares in government. And I'm telling you that since this broad-based government came in together, President Ruto and some of the leaders that come from our side have tried as much as possible to make sure that that narrative stops, that there is equitable development. And the reason why I was referring you to Kera tenders, to Kura tenders, and to Kena tenders, to go and check for yourself, is because if you go to those tenders, you will see that there is inclusivity where there is equal distribution of projects across the country that has been advertised. And therefore it means that money that is coming in government is going to go from government to equal communities across Kenya. This is what I meant. And I was even giving you an example with Willis, who comes from Alego. In his own constituency, go and look at the last 50 years, the kind of roads and tenders that has ever been advertised in Alego for proper engagement and proper investment in those roads, vis-a-vis even now, where 13 roads, including into village where Willis comes from, has been included. That idea of equity is what I choose to appreciate in this broad-based government, where Ruto is and where Raila is. That's all I'm saying, Okeyo, not the JD of Kera. That said, as I finished lastly with my friend Trevor, it is unfortunate that Willis can be on national TV and call senators of this country doing nonsense, doing nothing. I don't know where the workstation of Willis is. I don't know how day-to-day of Willis looks like in terms of all these Kenyans that Willis keeps on talking that he's fighting for. I don't know which kids that Willis has sponsored to school. I don't know which kids that Willis has been able to help and is working for on a day-to-day basis, on a weekend-to-weekend basis. Which village, which area does Willis work for Kenyans other than just these TV talks? Because when I talk about senators who have taken their times to go to Busia to check on how hospitals are working in those areas, the hospitals in Busia have had challenges of even proper cash flow in those hospitals. Senators are trying to implement what we call FIF, where monies that are coming to the hospitals can be able to be protected and be able to give services to the people on time, where audit queries that have been brought by the Auditor General in terms of spending on even issues like water provision, Willis, even in your own village. Senators have gone to Siaya and interrogated a number of issues in water provision services, where in cases, like for instance in Siaya, there were situations where water service providers had over 50% non-revenue water that is wasted that's not going to the people because of commercial losses, people not paying for those waters, or people not getting right billing, or if where billing comes in place, some people are pocketing those monies. And these are not just me saying, it is the Auditor General saying. They are in counties.
Yeah.
We have seen in those counties roads that are impassable to major markets, Willis, that we need to fight for and make sure that they are developed. When there is a backlog at the border point where trucks are lining between Busia in 2, 3, 4 kilometers into the border, it affects the traders in Busia.
Okay.
What is wrong with the Senate going there to make sure that the customs are mainstreamed and proper bottlenecks are in those areas? Do not make it difficult for border, for Mamamboga, for anybody who's doing small business in that area to be dealt with.
Okay.
You cannot indeed throw us passions and say that senators are doing nonsense, because I think that other than just being in these talk shows, Willis has got no anything else that he's doing for Kenyans, when some of us are spending our time in villages, sponsoring kids to school. I personally go out there, out of my way, Trevor, to even look for money for over 111 kids that I'm supporting to go to school.
All right.
For sportsmen, like people like Lilian Odira, who just won the world championship.
Okay.
So don't ever, just because it's good to bastardize politicians and stigmatize politicians, do not disrespect other leaders in whichever form, whether in private sector or otherwise public sector, who are trying to make a contribution in the country.
The conversation was in relation to...
full of you, and this is the lowest you've gone on this kind of show.
Senator Eddie, the conversation was in relation to the Senate Mashinani visit vis-a-vis your roles as stipulated in the Constitution. But there's also another question here from Dr. Buyema in just under 1 minute. He says that they asked those senators about the shame that was realized in Kakamega. The Senate's visit to Kakamega appeared disorganized, politically biased, and confrontational. Do Senate committees hold preparatory sessions before such tours? Is it necessary for them to resort to physical intimidation of county officials? Where was the Senate's oversight during the 3 years the health project had stalled? And can a sitting senator eyeing the governor's seat truly exercise impartial oversight? In just under 1 minute.
Yes, I think that I don't approve of any violence or physical confrontation, whether in the course of duty, as we had seen with the Senator of Kakamega, or otherwise. But the truth is, we personally, I sit also in the Finance and Budget Committee, Trevor. I have gone to Kakamega personally and did our job in terms of dealing with the pending bills that were bringing Kakamega down at that time. But we did it in a manner that was proper, was appropriate, and was well organized and prepared, well prepared, to the extent that we sorted out those issues in Kakamega.
Okay.
Where an individual senator might have gone overboard does not represent the entire Senate, and sometimes this political interest, just like you see with Willis and Okeo, doing jabs to score political points, sometimes do happen, but they are uncool. But that is not representative of the House of the Senate, because senators prepare well with their committees, with their clerks, with their secretariat to go and do proper job in these counties.
All right, we're really pressed for time, but in just under 1 minute.
In under 1 minute, let me say this. If it quacks like a duck, if it walks like a duck, it is a duck. And what I've said about the senators stands, and it's the truth, and that's why it's pinching them. Number one, don't turn this thing to be about Willis. Willis does not expend even a single public resource that is going to Busia to misuse public money to do what is not their role. And these senators are not experts to go and, for example, audit a hospital or audit a road. So that what we must say... let me finish. You had your time. Let me finish.
One minute for closing remarks.
When we talk about them going to Mashinani, there are professionals who've done those audits, those reports exist. You don't have to go to Busia to see with your own eye that the hospital is not working. You don't have to go to Busia to see with your own eye that the border, at their trucks which are delayed at the border, it's affecting local traders. Those local traders can do petitions. You have a local senator. You have a senator's office that is funded by taxpayers. They can report that to you. So when you go to Busia, go and deal with issues that are germane. What they are telling us, in fact, the two of them are all struggling to tell us what they are doing in Busia. I'm yet to hear it. Because in terms of their functions, they are not answering it. And finally, on even the question of the roads that he tries to gaslight me that I come from Alego, the roads have been allocated to Alego. Let me tell you, Senator, if you are doing your work, Kura and Kera have devolved their functions to the county governments. Those roads will be done by the county governments. I will be talking to the county government of Siaya and not to yourself, coming to beg to a legal politician here to give the Kenyan people what they deserve. Devolve the functions of Kura and Kera as envisaged in the Constitution
Okay.
Those roads belong to county governments. Give them that money. Let us go and fight with our governors to get those roads.
Okay.
Don't use it as political capital, as you are doing.
Okay, your 1 minute closing remarks.
Thank you for having had me this morning after a long time. Unlike Senator Eddie Oketch, I have sufficient grasp of emotional intelligence. And when I come here, I come objectively and sober. And I suffer no personal challenge that will impede my objectivity when I am here. I wish them truly well in this mongrel they call broad-based government. Time will tell in a short while.
Okay, that's your closing remark. Okay, Cherargei, 1 minute.
Thank you, Trevor, for this show. Two things is that we'll continue to do our job because we were constitutionally given. The Constitution gave us power to represent. And I've known the reason that Willis will never be elected in this country. Is he doing badly? He should just stay in law firm. Number two is to appeal that we are going to ensure that we visit as many counties as possible so that we can look how devolution works. We want to feel, we want to see it, we want to engage. There is what we call social audit. The moment we talk to the residents of Busia, we can even do what we call social audit. Finally, Trevor, is that let us continue working as a nation. This country is bigger than all of us. Let us continue giving the necessary support to government. Yeah. Let us, so that the success, if the president succeeds, all of us succeeds. Okay. So I think this is a conversation we should have, and as a nation, everybody has a role. The people in parliament ask, the people in executive, the people in civil society like our colleagues, the people in judiciary, we all have a role. Okay. And therefore we need, Trevor finally is to pass my condolences to the people. You know, you come near Kimwani where police killed 2 people, and we hope this issue of extrajudicial killings where police are using excessive force will stop. Okay. Thank you for inviting us. I hope next time we'll be on studio.
Yes.
Or we'll get a better technology so that we can engage in a better manner. Thank you.
Eddie, closing remarks?
Yeah, I think my quick closing remarks is that we have a government in place. We have worked hard to stabilize this government and give it an environment where it can be able to work. I just hope that all Kenyans can rally behind this broad-based government in the next 2 years and make sure that you squeeze the best you can be able to squeeze out of this government to make it work for you, because you're paying your taxes, you have got levies that have been brought in this government. The only best thing that you can be able to do is not sometimes to just listen to people who are celebrating where failure is or celebrating. In fact, for people like Willis, I think that it is important that the government fail so that they look good. And I think that for some of us, it's about what is good for the country. What is good for the country is peace and development that is based on the fact that we can be able to have equality for everyone in the country. And this is what we must fight for, so that 2027, when it comes, judge the government based on what has been brought to you, both locally at the county levels and national levels. But above all, I want to also echo what Cherargei has said. We saw even an issue of abduction in a place called Marsabit of Jilo. I hope that we can put a stop to this and make sure that our country can be free from this kind of sometimes violence that we see with this abduction that sometimes are both sometimes from non-state actors and sometimes state actors. We can put an end to this.
All right. Thank you very much for all that conversation. Let's bring up the feedback really quick, and as we wind up this conversation, because the people have sent in their views, let's hear what they're saying really quick. And we close on this. Okelo Mwalimu says, as political cousins regroup to capture power, we should be creating synergy between our mouths and pockets. Don't waste time planning how to send a politician home. You may be home earlier than them. Whoever believes in one-term genre will be very disappointed with themselves. Okay? J.M. Musoma says, Kalonzo is the man to watch in 2027. Kenyans are looking for a humble, experienced and listening leader. It's a Kibaki one moment. People are so sure of who they don't want and careless about manifestos. That's why one term remains the political narrative. Okay? Franco Rinde says, Kalonzo's biggest undoing isn't experience. It's a lack of a clear stance or bold vision. His lukewarm politics makes him hard to trust as a game changer in a space that demands courage, conviction and clarity of purpose. Basweti says 2027 election won't be decided by tribal politics or empty promises. It will be shaped by frustrated voters, betrayed and hungry, driven by lost trust, youth awakening, economic hardship, and an unwavering desire for real and lasting change. Gabi says the united opposition banner is slowly losing meaning, with Kalonzo and Wamalo reconsidering their place. Gashagua's grip looks weaker than ever. That's where we leave it for now. Thank you, gentlemen, for making time. We started Eric Okeyo, governance and security expert. Thank you for making time. Willis Otieno, deputy party leader, Safina. Honorable Eddie Okech, senator for Migori, Kisumu, and also Honorable Samson Cherargei, senator for Nandi, joining us from Busia. I want to thank you all for the time you made this morning and for all the feedback that you sent through. Say goodbye for now. Coming up next, it's cooking tips. All right, see you shortly.